So you bought the Ultimate Hauler, but your bed doesn't move. Well, don't worry, because 110 Rod Shop's got your medicine. With a full tilt and slide kit for your Ultimate Hauler, making it the ultimate hauler. Hey friends and family, it's James with Crawlers and Customs. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we've got something exciting on the bench. We're going to take our TRX6 Ultimate Hauler and we're going to install the soon-to-be famous 110 Rod Shop rollback kit. So this tilts and slides. So let's talk about some of the setup here. So it's pretty cool. I'm going to leave this upside down. What's pretty cool about this is it's designed to fit the stock wiring. So we've got our 4-channel receiver here, which is going to get mounted up towards the front of the truck. And we've got an inline JST plug, male and female, that's going to plug inline here from the Traxxas receiver. Now, if you're not running a Traxxas receiver, this is a 12 volt system. So you'll want to run either a separate 3S battery, or if you're running higher kV or higher cell count, you're going to want to use a step down regulator to get that 12 volts to this system. This won't work on 5, 6, 8 volts coming from your receiver, so make sure you're giving this enough power. These actuators and the winch that is included here is not a winch to winch a vehicle up, but it's actually used to move the carriage back and forth on these aluminum rails. Now what's pretty cool about his design is it uses, let's see, looks like about 12 cartridge bearings that sit in this track and basically guide this carriage system. And so what will happen is when this is mounted, actually that's the other way. When this is mounted, you can independently control the slide mechanism, which will take this upper portion, gets bolted to the deck, and slide it back. Now, one thing to note, and you'll see a limit switch here and another one here, is the stock shock towers actually stick up. If you choose to run shorter shock towers, you can have the deck completely slide back. But if you're running a stock truck, you could slide back and you'll want to tilt up slightly, and then you can continue on back and control your angle as well as slide the carriage all the way back. So let's get into it in the second part of the video. We're going to start doing the install. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. Here we do product reviews, product development, and how-tos, and this is going to be a review and a how-to on the 110 Rod Shop Ultimate Hauler rollback kit. So first thing, we're going to pull this top deck off. I haven't worked on this truck much, I admit, but we'll figure it out together. So it looks like we just need to start pulling bolts out right here. So at this point, we've got the top deck off, and it looks like we're going to be replacing all of this sort of plastic I-beam and struts with Dustin's kit. So we're going to remove the rest of the wiring, get that out of the way, and we'll proceed. So let's go ahead and tear this down the rest of the way. All right, so we've got the lower part of the deck removed. We're going to remove the rest of the wiring, the headache rack, and the little tail skid. Let's go ahead and do that now. So we're getting ready to install the motorized carriage and tilt mechanism. It looks like this cross member over the rear axle needs to come out, and then if we pay attention here, you can see 3 bolt holes which correspond to this bumper mount on the rear of the hauler. So let's go ahead and pull that cross member. I should mention that Dustin includes the hardware necessary, like those lock nuts. I happen to grab my own, but you can see he's got a bag here of extra hardware, some M3 bolts, some countersunk, and these are our lock nuts as well as the 2 transmitters and zip ties. And I just happen to grab those from my stash, but he provides those in his kit. All right, so we're getting pretty close to test fitting the slide and tilt mechanism. You're going to want to remove all the hardware from the rear bumper, set that aside, and then on the left side of the truck, you're going to want to remove the top shock bolts. And what that's going to allow us to do is pass the wiring harness under the frame on that side. So should be what you're left with. All right, let's grab our slide mechanism. And it's gonna be a little hard to see, but there's a few wires. There's one pair that run to the actuators. We're going to slide the frame sort of like this, right? So this is the left and the right frame rails. So we're gonna do that now. right, so if you look at the back of the mechanism, there are 3 holes. They're going to line up with the 3 holes for your bumper. All right, so we got the truck right way up, and I wanted to call out a couple of things here. So the way this operates, you can see a limit switch at the rear, one at the front of the carriage, and then finally a third here loose, and we're going to show where that mounts. But the idea is that as this upper tray travels along the carriage, its direction is controlled by this winch. And so when it gets to the end, these stops prevent the winch from sort of over traveling and causing mechanical damage. Also, if you were to winch straight back, at a certain point, you'll see that the roller bearings will come into contact with the shock towers. There's a couple ways around that. One, Dustin has included this third limit switch, which we're going to mount right here. And so it'll allow you to slide back until you hit the limit switch. Then you can tilt up and then continue to slide back down towards the ground. But if this limit switch weren't here, you would need to remove all 4 shock towers to leave the chassis rails totally smooth, run shorter shocks, probably 60 millimeter, 70 millimeter shocks, and bolt those directly to the frame. That would give you a completely flat upper, which would allow the slide mechanism to travel uninterrupted. But this is designed for a stock truck, and stock trucks have stock shocks and stock shock towers. So we're going to set this up stock as well. So let's go ahead and bolt up that limit switch. All right, so we've got our limit switch installed. And you want to make sure that this is operating as intended. If this limit switch doesn't click, you can theoretically run this carriage straight back into these shock towers and cause yourself a problem. So let's avoid that and make sure your limit switch is clicking like it should. All right, so now we're going to secure some of this loose wiring, and the best way to do that is just with some cable ties or zip ties. So we're going to route this right along the bottom of the frame. All right, it's time to start to put some of this back together. This is an early version, like I said, but we're going to want to go ahead and remove this foam block. So we're going to be running a winch on this in a later video, but I noticed on this early version that we don't actually have the guide holes for the forwardmost mounts here. It's going to sit something like that. So I'm going to end up running a drill on that a little bit later, and we'll secure it for our winch. Same thing with the 2 holes that are here on the front edge. So we're going to secure it for now with the side mounting bolts, and we're going to start to put this deck back together. All right, let's run the shorted bits of hardware here around the perimeter. All right, so that last bit took a little bit doing. Got to maintain alignment between the headache rack, the side rail, the top deck, the rear lip, and the brackets that these side rails hook into. There's a little recessed cup, and what I found works best if you sort of press down, you feel it pop into place. I don't know if you could hear it in the time-lapse video, but it's definitely sort of snapped into place when it was in the right spot. All right, so let's take a look at our final wiring setup. We've got our receiver box and harness zip tied. We've got our Y harness plugged into the what is a pass-through on that Traxxas ESC. So keep in mind, if you have your battery plugged in, you're running power to this. So when you're done using the truck, make sure to unplug. But what's also cool about that is you don't have to have the receiver transmitter on if you just want to operate the tilt function. Just need to plug your battery in. So let's show it in operation. So we're going to travel the bed, bring it down, and then bring it all the way home. So that's in the locked position. You can see how those roller bearings work. Now let's take it back out. All right, so let's take a look at how it sits when fully dropped. Sort of out of frame there, but it's against the ground. You can see our wiring running along the side of the chassis. So we'll send the bed back out. And let's show that limit switch in operation. So right there, you can tilt up at this point and take it the rest of the way. And one of these times I'm going to remember which button does what. All right, so that's the 110 Rod Shop rollback kit install. You can see we've got a little bit of work left to do. We've got some more accessories that we're going to install on this body to finish it off. And we've got to reinstall our marker lights and run an extension. So we'll do that in a follow-up video. But thanks for sticking around. If you found that helpful, please leave us a thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video. Have a good night.